Well, howdy, folks. Hope you're having a bloody good Tuesday. Sorry about the show for last night. I had to go and get my stretcher bearer shoes on. I was required to help somebody who needed a little bit of help. It all came through late yesterday afternoon. Required a bit of a trip north and a trip back to a hospital, then trip south, and so it just meant getting home very, very, very late last night. And at any rate, the person needed to get where they needed to be, and today I think some surgery or something may well have taken place. So job done. We're all happy about that. So failing that, we because we didn't have a show last night, I was going to bring you up to date with what happened with the Freedom Truck court hearing case, which or court hearing case. Gee, that's a great way of putting it, isn't it? At any rate, yesterday there was a decision to be made in the case regarding Paul Offe and the Freedom Truck. I've got the boys back. We'll have a bit of a chat with them very shortly. There's a few other interesting things that have been happening around the world today. Hunter Biden is back in the news again. You may have seen over some recent days/weeks that Hunter Biden had done a plea deal in Florida, which essentially managed to get him out of a great deal of the illegality that he had been found allegedly participating in. Now, it was only through pure fluke that the judge overlooking the case got to find out all of this. Many things had transpired, including the fact that one of his defense lawyers had apparently issued instructions for the managing attorney to ring the court office, the registrar's office, or the chief justice's office, whichever way it worked, and effectively get the file containing all the very bad evidence against Hunter Biden taken out of the case. Now, this thankfully was found by the prosecutors on the day that this case was meant to go to air. They found it before they got into the court. It raised a lot of questions about how this could possibly have not been filed correctly. And the court said, oh, well, somebody from your office rang and told us to take it out. And the prosecutor said, no, that didn't happen. It turned out that that person was from Hunter Biden's office, pretending, allegedly, to be part of the prosecutor's office. Now, this is a big, 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 bad mistake if that is what's happened. It's not a mistake. It's a bad, corrupt action. And now the law firm involved is doubling down. They're backing her, the lady concerned, and they are trying to swing it on the fact that the judge's assistants, their paralegals, messed this whole thing up, or the court messed it up somehow. This is going to blow back in their face in a huge way, because people who are in the court, working for the court, particularly if they're working for a sitting judge or justice, they take great detail of everything. They note everything. They'll be able to prove everything they say and have an action backing or a directive authorized by someone for every action they take. It's just how it is. So Hunter Biden, well, he's certainly the top of the charts, don't you think? He's FBI top of the charts. The CIA are pretty interested, only because he's the one that seems to be dragged in. The Hunter Biden laptop is proving seriously to be the laptop from hell. And now he's even hitting the music charts.
My child called me up just the other day. He said, Dad, I need some crack. Can you help me today? And I had lots of cash, but bills to pay. He said, don't worry, Dad, I'll find another way. He was smoking for I knew it, and away he flew, saying, I'm gonna be like you, Dad. You know I'm gonna be like you. And Hunter's in the basement with a silver spoon. The hookers and drugs were gonna be there soon. When you're coming home, Dad, I don't know when.
I'll be good and high by then, Dad. Yeah, I'll be good and high by then.
Picking through rugs smoking anything that even remotely resembled crack cocaine.
I'm very proud of my son.
My son came around just the other day. He said, I got me a deal where we can both get paid. Can I trade on your name? I said, sure, okay. Will anyone know? He said, no way. And as he walked away, he looked kind of dim and said, I'm gonna be like him, yeah. You know I'm gonna be like him.
He's fixed it. He's worked on it.
And Hunter's in the basement with a silver spoon. Ukrainian bribes were gonna be there soon. When you're coming home, Dad, I don't know when.
I'll put aside your 10%, Dad. I'll always have your 10%.
I said, honey, what are you doing? I said, Dad, I'm fine. He said, you're not fine.
I know how to game the system. Come on.
Well, he came from Kiev just the other day. Had a smile so big I just had to say, son, I'm proud of you. How's our cash supply? He nodded his head and said,
Great big guy, but what I really need, Dad, is to borrow the car keys.
You can take the vet, but watch the boxes, please. And Hunter's in the basement with a silver spoon. Classified papers all over the room. When you're coming home, Dad, I don't know when.
I'm getting good and high again, Dad. I'm getting good and high again.
He pointed out the reason why he regrets it is he didn't anticipate that thugs like Giuliani would use it to, in fact, try to embarrass his father. Yes, they are. They're flat thugs. Come on. This guy is a dog whistle about as big as a foghorn.
I stole an election and my son moved away. I called him up just the other day. I said, you owe some cash, I want my cut today. He said,
calm down, Dad, you know it's on the way. But my laptop is gone and now it's on you. And now we're both really screwed, Dad. And now we're both gonna be screwed.
And as I hung up the phone, it occurred to me, he was damn near dumber than me. My boy was dumb as me. And there was Hunter in the basement with a silver spoon. All of our crimes were coming out real soon. When's it all end, son? I don't know when.
But we're gonna end up in the pen, Dad. We're both gonna be in the pen.
I am absolutely certain, 100% certain, that at the end of the investigation, that I will be cleared of any wrongdoing.
God save the Queen, man.
Now, I just got to say, all the copyright, obviously, Harry Chapin wrote the song and everybody at the end there, that's why I left the credits up. But what a bloody great job. I love creative people. So if you can do a song parody, sorry, just adjusting the old microphone. If you can do a song parody of more, I can hear from you, and you can email me at rachel@vofhq.com. Yes, I said Rachel. You can email me at rachel@vofhq.com. I say that because Rachel is going to start taking over a great deal of the day-to-day email traffic that I am getting, because I am drowning in it a bit, if I'm honest. So she'll be able to help. Now, there are a few other things that you might be able to email Rachel about. I have a small list here. I think I'll probably only go through the big one. I've been contacted recently by some people, or more particularly some people on behalf of one person who is in desperate need of buying a caravan. Now, that doesn't mean they want to be sold some kind of wreck, but they do have, a reasonable amount of money to spend, up to, 20,000, maybe a little bit more. It's a single person and looking for a caravan that has a toilet shower facility inside it, somewhere where the person and two dogs quite happily. If you happen to know anybody like that, if you are somebody like that, then please get in contact. Once again, Rach is coordinating all of this, so send it to rachel@vofhq.com and we'll see what we can do there. If you are interested, I mentioned the stretcher bearers. Now, we haven't set the stretcher bearers up yet. If you've watched previous shows, you'll know that I've mentioned that I am going to be starting to put together a group of what we're lovingly going to term stretcher bearers. I'll have one of the people involved with that very shortly. A few people have emailed and stuck their hands up in different regions. Thank you very much to those folks. We will be in touch just as soon as I've got the other end of it organised, meaning my end. And there is a lot going on at my end at the moment. So I guess before I bring the boys on, I will just talk about yesterday briefly, because a lot of people have rung up and asked if things are okay after the live. So yesterday, a couple of things happened. The hospital trip, the thing I had to do yesterday afternoon was for my my ex-girlfriend. And I get on very well with my exes, well, most of them. And there aren't many, but the ones that do still talk to me, we get along very, very well. I wouldn't like to see anything bad happen to any of them. And yesterday she was really stuck and needed my help. So I wound up taking a drive and giving her a hand. I also found out only just before that request came through that another ex of mine passed away on Saturday from lung and associated other problems that led to a heart attack, and passed away in hospital. So it was an interesting day yesterday. I mean, this is a girlfriend of mine from 30 years ago. So don't, we're not falling apart over this. She was very significant in my life at the time, and I've wished nothing but the best for her ever since. So this isn't the way I thought it would end up. But she's 40. I'm trying to figure it out, but she wouldn't be 50 yet, and or maybe just 50, and 3 kids. So terribly sad. I guess that's, if I'm calling that close to home, that would be the first close to home death I've had. If it's called close to home, that judging by the symptoms as they've been related to me, certainly suggest a vaccine injury, nothing like a cold or a respiratory illness or anything else. So keep your loved ones close, folks. Give them a hug, give them a cuddle if they've been jabbed up. Many will survive. Many unfortunately won't. And we never know who in our circle might be coming up next. So just bear all that in mind. I want to say hello to a few folks before I bring the boys on. Thank you very much to Keefe, who was in the room first up. Evening to the Roys. Hello, Veronique. Sunflower, you gorgeous thing. Same with Aussie Sue. Gee, I only just beat you. G'day, Kirk. And yeah, I'm Kark. Don't you love that? Kirk and Kark. Sorry, there you go. Try that. Kirk and Kark. There's a show in that somewhere, mate. Give me time. I'll come up with that. Darren James. I used to work with a bloke called Darren James. Well, not work so much as idolise. I didn't really work with him. I got to sort of share the same studio space with him for a while down in Melbourne. Lovely bloke, as far as I can recall. G'day, Daryl. Hello, Neil, Alison, Makitos, Keefe, Veronique. I've said hello, Debs, Margot. Billy, what are you saying? Going to get a succulent, what? Chinese meal? Now I'll miss out. A succulent Chinese meal? Oh, right. Thanks, Bill. Really appreciate that. Oh, mate. Yeah, I wish I had a barbecue ready to serve you up some pork ribs too. All I'll say is watch this space, particularly if you happen to be in Brisbane. Watch this space. Then I can't guarantee pork ribs, but there might be something. Sorry, or Mark, what'd you have to do? Replace a windscreen last Friday. Rang O'Brien's windscreens for a quote, and they told you $200 more expensive than the market. And they've gone full cashless. Yeah, well, you know what you do with those sorts of businesses. Hello, Maria. Who else we got? Vince is in. Hello, buddy. I haven't sent you that email yet. I will send it, or I'll give you a call after the show, one of the three. I will send it. You won't have to write all these down. Callum, the Galactic Larricans are trend-setting as usual, and they all do get a bit of a cheerio to everyone. All right. Have I missed anyone? Hello, Springtree. Probably missed a heap. G'day, Phil. Shell, Vanessa, Sandra. Wow, they're piling in tonight. Hello, Bruce. Probably missed a few in that thing. Gisela. Anyway, you all know who you are. Thanks for coming in. Really appreciate you joining us on the Voice of Freedom tonight. It is going to be a howdy, George, says Gisela. It's time we had a bit of an update on what happened with the boys. Now, as you well know, folks, the Freedom Truck came to Canberra. It came, it saw, it conquered, and then, unfortunately, it was misdirected, waylaid, broken into, assaulted, and then abducted by police. The driver of it was Paul Offe. That's the man sitting on the right there with the very good-looking hat. And the man who probably would get better benefit out of wearing the hat, or at least a bit of makeup on the shiny spot on top of his head, is Brother Michael. Good evening, gentlemen. How are you?
Good evening. Thanks for having us again.
G'day, how's it going?
You love my intro? I'd sort of work that up just for you. Yeah, no comment. Thanks, boys. Good on you.
Done.
I thought it was funny anyway.
You boys are getting a bit. You boys are getting a bit swish tonight. I see you have your own lower third happening. That includes a magnificent image of the Freedom Truck.
Yes. Figured it would be easier for people to recognise what it was about and easier to find a link when they're looking for things.
Absolutely. You've done very, very well indeed. And of course, the Freedom Truck currently not quite in as good a condition as you see it there, although we don't exactly know how bad a condition it is because you haven't been allowed to go in and see it. Now, Paul, yesterday there was a case in Canberra, your name brought up for mention with regard to setting a court date for charges going forward. Michael, it was the first time that you've actually been represented at one of these hearings or indeed anywhere in the court by a solicitor and a barrister who turned up on the call. Initially, of course, we were thinking we were all going to go down and be in the courtroom for this, but it turned out the court said, oh no, video link's going to happen. Thankfully, Paul and a whole bunch of people from Canberra, I think 30 or more souls, turned up, Phil turned up at Canberra at the court and was sitting in the courtroom during the hearing. So it was an open hearing. People were allowed to go into and view. So we'd like to thank all of those guys for turning up, guys and girls, for turning up and supporting Paul there. Had we probably known there was going to be a crowd, we may well have turned up anyway for a party. But as it turned out, everybody appeared via video link. So, Michael, bring us up to speed. How beneficial was it having a barrister and a solicitor rather than legal aid in your court?
Well, I think legal aid clearly a little bit hamstrung in how they operate and what they are able to do representing people, it would appear. So, yes, it's a godsend to finally have solid, substantial representation. And with the lawyers that's been looking at, he's been looking at taking it on for a while, but had fairly limited time and availability to slot it in. So he's very kindly managed to stretch his schedule around and be pretty flexible on the whole process to be able to accommodate the situation and take it on board. And then very kindly and very luckily, I guess, a barrister bumped into him at some event or something and asked if he had any interesting cases that he wanted a barrister to partner up with. So she's on board, and she was eager to be present at the call over hearing yesterday, which we didn't expect would be the case. We thought it would just be the lawyer. They're obviously still getting a chance to thoroughly evaluate the whole case and the whole situation, and they've obviously come in 17 odd months after, or 16 months after the original incident. So a lot's happened in the meantime as far as legal argy-bargy between there and here. So there's a bit for them to sort of get up to speed so that will be within time. Would
I be overstretching that to say that legal argy-bargy has gone outside the ring, and the ring being specifically Paul's actions that day and the vehicle, to involve other family members and friends?
Hard to know, but yeah, a few things have happened that are probably not what you would normally expect for a normal person.
Yeah, the timeline I find very interesting, and certainly the actions of certain members of enforcement forces in different states. I think their actions deserve much greater scrutiny,
I would say. Yeah.
And
we've also, I mean, just on this case in particular as well, just in relation to it, at every point, things have gone in such a way that are
questionable.
Questionable. Less, not exactly the way you would expect a normal, smooth flowing process to go. So, I mean, incidents relating to that would be when even literally back on the day that his original lawyer represented him on the Monday after the weekend incident to get him out on bail, that all went through smoothly, and the lawyer messaged me and said, get the people that were going to pick him up kindly stayed down in ACT area to be able to be in a position to go pick him up once he got released. So get them down there. They usually release them in about 20, 30 minutes after bail, so make sure they're down there in time. So they basically went straight from the court to out the front of the jail, because they never actually took Paul to the court for the hearing. They ended up deciding to do it by a video link or phone link. Sorry, I think it was.
Correct.
Which I think was also to possibly deny him the ability to have a proper in-person conversation with a lawyer that he hadn't yet met, and only found out maybe 15 minutes before the court proceeding that he was even going to be represented, because he'd been they'd not allowed phone calls the night before or during the day. Anyway, the lawyer says, get these people over there to pick him up. That was around 12 o'clock that he said that. They didn't, and he had a requirement to leave the ACT by 6 p.m. As part of the bail conditions, and they didn't end up letting him out of releasing him and processing the paperwork to release him until I think it was almost 4:30 in the afternoon, and that wasn't until the lawyer actually went across to the court and spoke to the bailiff and said, "What on earth is going on here? Can you get these guys to do their job and let this guy out? He's supposed to have been released 3 hours ago."
Yeah.
So that was just right at the beginning. And then since then, obviously, when that same lawyer tried to get the truck released from what had originally been notified as a 3-month impound, to get it released early, under which there was allowances to do so, they came back and said, "Oh no, actually we've got things in motion to confiscate it." And the lawyer's gone, "This is crazy. Under the circumstances, there's not meant to be confiscations under these sorts of circumstances whatsoever." Particularly under traffic, fairly minor traffic offences, as which it was. And so magically, a week or two later, 2 new charges were laid. "Oh, we've reviewed the evidence, and now we've got charges that include an indictable offence, a year longer than manslaughter. Go smoke that."
Yeah.
It's called moving the goalposts.
Yes. And
or in some cases, it's called a hamburger with the lot.
Yeah, well, this is the Whopper with the lot plus a bit more. And then they, obviously mid last year, we went to being representing himself in court because of the costs getting out of hand, and he's on a pension and running out of any cost to substantiate any of the legal expenses. So we worked all the way through with that with some help of a couple of people that had a bit of legal expertise assisting us. And then towards the end of the year, when was it? October, he gets a letter from the AFP saying, "Oh, here's a notice that they that the public trustee intends to confiscate the truck. Not to confiscate it, sorry, intends to sell it, I should say. They'd already confiscated it. They had it in a under a restraining order, basically. So they go, "Oh, we're confiscating, or we're going to sell. We've got to decide that we're going to sell it because and we'll move it on." Apparently, they then put money in a trust fund, and if you get found, depending on the outcome of your trial, they eventually decide whether they give you the money or keep it. Anyway, the notice was sent 5 weeks late, wasn't it? So it was already a couple of weeks after it was supposed to be sold. And more funny business in that. That took a court order to get it stopped. And around the time that we notified them that we would be taking it to court to prevent them from selling it, we never even really got an official notice of such things. But the next lot of paperwork that came through showed 2 counts of the indictable offence. So they'd just knocked another 15 years.
Doubled her up. Yep.
Yeah. So was that,
I don't know,
was that just something they were doing anyway, or was it something they decided, "Oh, well, you're going to make life difficult for us, we'll make life difficult for you"? I've got no idea. But
they wanted the drug one way or the other by the sound. All right. So what was the upshot of the hearing then on Monday? Where have we left? Because we had hopes that some of those charges might be dropped. Were they forlorn hopes?
Well, they haven't made any indication of showing any interest to do so. No, that's for sure. Don't really think we even heard from the prosecution in the hearing. Like, they seem to not really be too vocal or involved in proceedings at all. So I think they were just there listening, maybe. I'm not sure.
Right.
But no, we were pretty much called towards the end of the he was, not me. I'm not really involved, but he was called. His matter was called up towards the end of the court session, and I don't know. They probably heard a dozen to 18 other matters beforehand and set dates for them.
Wow.
Throughout the next 12 months, and they say, "Oh, so we've got ready. Are we ready to set this for trial? We understand you've got new representation." And the barrister goes, "Yep, we're ready. We're able to set it for trial. We're still evaluating the case properly, but at this point, a preliminary estimate would be 2 weeks, a 2-week trial. And if we can set a 2-week trial date, we'll set a date. We're happy to set a date." And they turn around and go, "Oh, hang on, we've only got it listed as if it's a 3-day matter." Now, where they got
which
that
is
from, I've got
crap.
no clue.
Yeah, right from the word go.
The paperwork we submitted said 3 weeks, so
And that was back in September.
It's funny how they do what
we've got. We've got the sealed response, or we've got the sealed paperwork back from the court showing that they processed that paperwork. So the court's had it since September. So at what point they decided it was suddenly magically going to dissipate from 2 weeks to 3 days? Last I heard, most of our witnesses haven't died from COVID or from the alternatives, so I think they're still available.
Yep, great. Well, the same can't be said for some of their witnesses. Not that any of them, I don't think, have died from COVID, but depression plays an issue in police forces, and there are a number of police officers that were involved in this matter who are currently on extended leave because of their involvement in other matters. Some related to Brittany Higgins, and they're on mental health leave. So
I don't know the details there, but
some struggles. I think
a little bit bizarre.
I wonder if the prosecution's even bothered looking that up. But Because it'll make it
what
hard
they
to call
do with their spare time.
No. Well, they go to the golf course, I think, and discuss what they do with the spoils after they take someone's property and sell it. So
Yeah.
have 18 holes
Yeah, I
of
don't
golf
know.
and decide how to split it up. Just a thought. You know?
So the upshot of that was they turned around and said, "Well, we had kept your matter till the latter part because we thought your matter was quite short, so we could slot it in amongst all the other ones that were longer that we set first." Well, strangely enough, our matter was longer than any of the others that were heard for the day.
Yeah.
So that technicality, you would think they might have heard it first, but anyway, someone slipped up there somewhere. So
a lot of mistakes happen in the Canberra legal system. A lot of mistakes. You know, nothing intentional, just mistakes. That would lead me to believe there's a lot of incompetent people running around in legal circles in Canberra, but or just a lot of very well paid ones.
So yeah, a date was offered. The soonest they could hear it was late June next year,
2024.
So let's just push this out a little bit further and get some more popcorn and sit back on the sidelines and see what happens, eh?
It's all well and good for them all getting paid an hourly wage.
2024.
Yeah.
That is... So,
yeah,
I'm no legal... I'm
a bit hard to believe, really.
Yeah, I'm no legally trained, knowledge, font of knowledge here, but I would have thought that you have a right to have these charges that they have brought against you heard in the most timely manner. And I cannot believe that the court will drag that. That would be what now? Then going up 2.5 to 3 years since
about. Well, by the if that goes ahead, and then by the time
3 years
the matter's finished, it will be just a couple of weeks, 4 weeks. Yeah, 4 weeks shy of 2.5 years. Of 2.5.
Yeah, wow, 2.5.
Right.
So, and in that time, Paul hasn't been able to work. He hasn't been able to use the vehicle for its intended purpose, which was to be in a movie and then to be used in sort of like a limousine kind of role, a special limo. And there are plenty of those around. You know, I don't know if you boys have seen it driving around the Gold Coast, but I passed it the other day driving from Brisbane down to the Gold Coast, a Corvette, bumblebee yellow Corvette stretch limousine. I reckon it's about an 11-seater.
Wow.
Yeah, got to say,
I wonder how it
pretty
handles the corners.
Weird. And I've got to say, as I came past it, I had a look at the roof line. Any old limousine drivers will tell you, folks, always look at the roof line of the limousine you're getting into, because while they might be able to put 4 bits of rail iron in through the floor to keep the chassis straight, there's not much they can do about the roof line. And I've got to say, this one had just a slight kind of, I thought, just, can see the joint.
Are you saying it really is a transformer?
Yeah, it might nearly be a transformer. Yeah, quite literally. But very nice. And I got to say, kudos to the bloke driving it, because it's a showstopper. It's a showstopper. So very decent. So Paul, 24th.
With
Sorry,
what you
Michael,
were saying about his truck and the jobs it's missed. It's missed about 3. It was supposed to appear in about 3 music videos by now that had been tentatively booked and scheduled. It was in one movie. It's missed 3 supernovas that it was a major draw card for their parades and a couple other things that was all pre-booked for. It's missed the Gold Coast Car Show. Looks like it will be due to miss it again for another year. He was a major sponsor at just a few months before this whole incident occurred. He was a major sponsor of the Gold Coast Car Show, and the biggest ride, or biggest kids attraction, I should say, with a massive crowd of kids out the front, which I'll switch on the screen for you if you like. There it is there.
Oh, wow.
That crowd that's showing maybe half the. Just go back to that, Paul. That's showing maybe half the queue that was there for maybe about 6 hours straight all day.
Yeah, wow.
With kids all lining up to get into the truck. So
yeah, what a great experience too, to see so many smiles and be able to deliver so many smiles to so many kids, so many families. And I've got to say, there's no shortage of
and a
dads
few
up there with
parents and
admiring
mums
eyes.
jumped in there.
Yeah, exactly. Well, how often do people get to climb into the cab of a big truck and have a play around and play with the horn and all that sort of stuff? Yeah. Just never happens. So yeah, great opportunity for people to get involved. And the fact that it just looks tough, I can't wait to get it off road. We put some bigger wheels on it. Put some 34s on there.
It's got pretty big wheels already. They're deceptively large. They don't look as large on there, but they are pretty large.
Oh, there you go. So, Paul, it's been a hell of a battle for you for the last couple of years. What has the decision yesterday left you feeling like?
It's, I don't know. I guess at least while I was hanging around in the Watch House and AMC Correctionals, I got free food. I guess you feel like
it would be better if they'd kept you locked up. Is that what you're saying?
You feel like your life is on hold anyway.
Well, they'd prioritise the trial a bit quicker if he was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The thing is, they would. They don't like probably spending so much money on housing people, and they might not have delayed it so much. But when you're out, you feel like when you got so much going on, I guess, and you do feel like you're just restricted in so many ways. Unfortunately, you're kind of at their mercy and beck and call to a degree. Makes it hard.
Yeah, it is. It's obviously pretty hard for you too, because essentially you are, well, I'm not going to say of no fixed address, but it's been very hard for you to put roots down too, hasn't it? So you've spent a lot of time on your bike traveling this country between South Australia, Victoria, New South Wales and Queensland, really, haven't you?
Yeah, I've spent a lot of this year and last year traveling around Melbourne, Sydney, Queensland, South Australia, mostly originally just to chase up you'd go to an event or something, and then you'd have someone saying, "Oh, I know of this person. They're having they should be down at this venue or this or that," or you follow them up, and that might be able to give you a hand or advice or so on. So yeah, just running around chasing possible leads of help. Also, I guess along the way, couch surfed and tented in quite a few people's places that I hadn't met, and I basically met along the way. Only sort of known them a few hours before they were offering me to stay on their couch for a week or this or that, and it was quite incredible on that side that, you know, someone I'd talk to for a few hours at meeting or something, or like the No Goat Show, or I'm trying to think of some of the others that sort of slipped my mind at the moment. But yeah, you know, next minute you're staying there and they was like, here's the house keys, got to go to work, just make yourself at home, sort of thing. So it's a bit of a difference compared to apparently to the state. I'm a terrible person that's facing 40 years prison, but yet people that have talk to me for a few hours, have me staying in their house with free reign, the keys, saying here's car keys if you want to use the second car, whatever. You know, it's been amazing.
They're very
in that side of
generous.
things. Unfortunately, a lot of the people I've actually come across that have probably been the most generous and so on. You look at the drama they're going through themselves, and that, you know, so many people struggling as well, and it kind of gives you a bit of trying to think of the word, clarity in where the country is at. That certainly isn't what it was, you know, in our parents' time.
Yeah, you're right. The generosity that people I have found in this movement is unparalleled. They will take you into their homes, as you've said. You and I have both experienced that that particularly joyous event, and I love it. I love meeting people. They particularly know how to cook. Most of these people who invite you into their home too, which is really nice. You get a good feed. So yes, I know exactly how you feel, but I'm sure you know, you're about getting this over and done with and moving on with your life. So certainly the news that we've been at least able to partially fund the barrister and solicitor for you at this point is has got to be a bit uplifting for you.
Yes, that's great, and it's been like amazing, and to hear people were down there on Monday in the courtroom. You know, I just it's hard to say with words. Like it's a bit is the word surreal? Yeah, knowing that all those people took time out of their day to be there and show support.
And that was Phil and the Canberra crew and a few others who turned up too. I got a few phone calls from people I know down there who actually let me know late they were turning up. Otherwise, like I say, Paul and I might have wound up down there after all if we'd have known there was going to be so many folks attending. We weren't even sure if anybody was going to be allowed into the court. So we're sorry to those folks who went there maybe thinking that we would both be there, but we did try and get the message out as soon as we knew that we weren't going to go down. So I'm sorry if you missed that message. All right, boys. So the battle, as they say, continues, although now it will be simply a matter of preparing your defence and raising enough money to make sure we continue being able to pay the lawyers' instalments. Yeah?
Yeah. I mean, it's been very, very nice and much appreciated how much has been raised to date by generous people supporting it, and can't say enough thanks for that, because without that we wouldn't even be in a position to have a lawyer on board and a barrister as well, which is even more fantastic that that's been able to happen. Obviously, while what has been raised has been enough of a, I suppose you could say, a teaser to get them involved, it's still probably about a third of what that trial would usually cost at normal value to obtain those services. So they are obviously being quite supportive in taking it on, knowing that we don't yet have the funds to even fund it. And hopefully we can keep working towards that to get to that point. They also don't, or they also know that they probably won't get paid the full amount, but obviously the more we can get for them, the better, and the more chance we can have of getting this through the whole process successfully. So, certainly appreciate the support of all that.
Abby says, don't defend your position, attack. I think you can be absolutely 100% guaranteed that attacking is the plan. There will be there will be very little defending. There will be a great deal of attacking presented by your defence, simply because we have so much evidence in support of you. So they're the ones who brought you into here and make you answer these questions. Well, I'm confident that we'll be able to present the evidence along with your barristers and solicitors that will embarrass these prosecutors and the ACT police and the federal police, hopefully so badly that an inquiry is generated into their behaviour, not just into how they've interacted with you, but there's Bruce as well. I think a case could be made that he was targeted, and others in the freedom movement down
there's
there.
others we know of as well. So it's interesting. They seem to have pushed very hard on this particular matter because it would appear that they had mobilised pretty heavily for that particular Saturday, thinking that there was going to be a lot of civil disobedience or unrest, and there really wasn't. And what occurred with Paul's situation should have never, it didn't warrant what was done, and it would have been as simple as trying to establish where he was trying to get to, because he had authorization to get to about 75 meters from where he was stopped. Just that he didn't know the area properly, was also taking directions from someone else that probably didn't know what the actual correct route was. He'd lost contact with the vehicles he was following that did know what the correct route was and had no way of contacting them. So it was all a reasonably, certainly on his behalf, a very innocent situation with no ill intent whatsoever. He was simply trying to get to the stage area that he was requested to attend and park the truck at. So I think the heavy-handed response to him is been that there was, as we know, far more than 10,000 people down there that weekend. And because they didn't have anyone else to target, pretty much all their efforts ended up being applied to his situation.
I think I stood out a bit more than a few others, especially with
the reality.
Those coppers who deliberately walked in front of you, their ears would have been ringing for days, standing at ear level in front of those air horns that you have attached to the vehicle. Zeus is not quiet.
Well, I think I'm just going to load up a photo here that shows the vehicle. If I hit the right button, there we go.
Oh yeah, that shows a great vehicle.
Yes.
Oh, here we go.
The vehicle was probably looking fairly, very much Australian, put it that way.
Yes.
And it had a couple of really naughty words on the side as well, which, being F words called freedom, they were quite unattractive to the people down there. And it clearly, I think that because of all of that.
Now that's a bit. Hang on a second, just before you get off that picture, that's a picture of the vehicle inside the holding yard, or is that at Epic?
No, that's at Epic before he left.
Yeah, right.
That's another.
I just saw the window down. I thought maybe that was a smashed window.
No, that was the other side. That was the passenger.
That was one of the other vehicles that you followed on the day. I don't know. Was that Bruce or don't know if Bruce was driving one of those trucks or not. I'll shut my mouth. I'll be speaking names I shouldn't be out loud. So yeah, that night you rolled into Canberra, you basically started working for everybody at Epic that night. You were feeding people, doing runs to supermarkets, bringing back lots of donated food and produce and all that sort of stuff, Paul. And then the next morning they invited you to go along as part of this run. And then somewhere along the line, you were dissuaded, stopped, persuaded to move in a different way than had been previously arranged. and obviously you not knowing your way around Canberra. Was that the first time? I think you said was the first time you'd been to Canberra?
From my memory,
No,
I think I was when I was like maybe about 9 or 10, maybe.
No, not even that. You would have been about 6.
Okay, there we go.
Wow, there you go. So you
don't
weren't
really
really taking
remember
much
anything.
notice of the road network then anyway.
No. No.
Just
yeah,
how to get to Questacon, I bet.
So yeah, it's first time from my recollection, I've been there. Besides when I was about 6 or something. So
yeah, right. So
Yeah.
my point is that you didn't know your way around Canberra. You were entirely reliant on those 2 other vehicles who had great intimate knowledge of Canberra and where heavy vehicles could move in and around on the streets in Canberra. You were blocked and separated from those 2 vehicles that you were following. And then the police started turning you around. And obviously, given that you process information a little differently, there was, a third party who was involved in helping you. Well, I'm not going to say helping you. I'm going to say a third party involved in disseminating the information the police were saying to you, but through him. And there may have been an element of confusion or misinformation. And, things get turned around. Could have been easily sorted out with a bit of civil discussion between adults. Unfortunately, I was going to say we had the dick swinging police who wanted to get in the way and to show how tough they were, but the order came from a female. Well, we think female. I guess I can still no, I won't go into it. All right, so we will just keep planning for a very good fight coming up the 24th of June. That's an interesting plan. It's right in the middle of friggin' winter in Canberra. Do you think they might be doing that to discourage anybody to come along to the court and witness what they're trying to do? I can guarantee you that we will be in Canberra for that, and we will be en masse. So the Voice of Freedom and a crew of people who've already said they will be travelling with us will definitely be coming to Canberra for that. And that regardless how cold, how wet, how windy, we will be there to support you when you go to court, mate. 100%.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it will be interesting to see how it all goes down.
So if you're still looking for donations, obviously the freedomtruck.au is where people can go to, and you've got a Fundly site on there that people can click on.
Yes. If you go there, that'll direct straight through to the Fundly site, which is the fundraiser. And I'm just loading something up here. So that'll go straight through to the fundraising page. If anyone has the interest in supporting that, certainly very grateful. Or if it's just something that people want to share around to their connections, that's fine too. And the other thing from there, you can also get through to links to some of the other interviews that have occurred, and across to, if you look for the Freedom Truck Facebook page, you'll find details, more details there as well. So if anyone wants to contact us, they can do it over that.
Good luck.
Could we end on a bit more positive note as well? I'll just show you a couple of photos here. This is what the truck was getting used for. That was at Supernova at the Gold Coast, parked right out in the front of the convention centre, in the area that all the limousines usually pull up. And there's Batman having a go of it.
That's
it's got to
awesome.
be a good truck if Batman wants to ride it.
My word.
And
car show.
That's if you need some Adam's Ale by Zeus 1, that was bottled water he was doing for some of the events as well.
Is that right?
Yeah. So it was a serious business that was in the process of getting established. So
this all hasn't come after the fact. No, for sure.
No, that was before.
Excellent.
All right. Well, thanks for having us.
No problems,
thanks
boys.
for
Go
listening.
forth, enjoy your dinner or whatever it is you've got lined up, and we will chat more in the coming days and weeks, I'm sure. And obviously, if I can help you in any way, shape, or form going forward before your court date, I'm here for you. You know that.
All right. Thanks to you and all the listeners.
No worries, buddy.
Thank
We'll
you.
talk again soon.
Everything's much appreciated.
I also want to thank both the boys for their help over the weekend. They came, met me on the Gold Coast, and gave me a bit of a handout. I needed some mechanical knowledge help, and both of those boys certainly have mechanical knowledge. So thank you both to Michael and to Paul for helping me out over the weekend. Gisela, thank you so much for your super sticker. I appreciate it. Sandy, I saw one from you come through earlier as well. And I want to say there was one from Sunshine, I'm guessing, maybe. I did see it. Sandy, there's yours. Oh, look, I've probably missed it. Have I scrolled too far and too fast? I apologize if I've missed your name. Sandy, Gisela. There you go. Veronique. My God, how can I do that? Veronique, I see that you said you haven't got your hats yet. I'm a bit concerned. I have tracking numbers for your hats. In fact, I've got tracking numbers for all the hats. I will make some inquiries about those tomorrow. I'm just looking to where I've stuck them and whether, and I do have them. I can see them. So I will endeavour to find that out and have an answer for you about that tomorrow night. It's a little bit concerning because they're actually some weeks ago that they were sent. So I'm sorry. I will go to work on that. Don't be afraid. I've still got plenty of hats. You'll get them regardless. So if anybody else wants a white hat, let me know. Send it to Rachel at vofhq.com and we'll figure it out from there. Rachel, somebody asked how to spell Rachel earlier. It is Rachel. I'm pretty sure. However, somebody said that's how you spell it. That's how you spell it. Redlands Bay Renegade. Don't know if you're still in the room or not. Apparently there's something happening in Brisbane tomorrow with Tricky and Graham Hood. I would have thought that most of the people who watch Voice of Freedom would be wide awake enough to know that you're probably barking up the wrong tree if you're going to go and see the airline pilot that says contrails are all that's coming out the back of aircraft. And Tricky is, well, aptly named. Let's just leave it at that. So good luck. Not going to get my support. I won't be there. And if you're a good discerning person, you'll probably stick away there, claiming they're going for all the right reasons. But I've yet to be convinced, put it that way, if that's the nicest and politest way I can put it. Not having to go. If you want to go, please go. It's just not something I'm going to be a part of. So if you choose to be, then more power to you. Sandy. Wrong one. There you go. Sandy. Is Spiros still helping the boys? No, is the short answer to that. Spiros is dealing with a few other things at the moment, I think. One of the issues that Spiros had, and I'm saying that sounds bad. Spiros didn't have an issue. The court had an issue with Spiros in that they weren't going to let him represent Paul as a lawyer or as a solicitor or a barrister. They wouldn't allow him to argue in the court as Paul's representative. That being the case, it made it very difficult for Spiros, given his limitations of how I think he could probably help Paul. Essentially, what the court said is, yes, you can help him, but you can't get up and speak for him. Paul has to get up and speak for himself. And obviously that's going to have its limitations. And given the injuries that Paul has suffered, it would be unfair to expect him to be able to deliver his own defence in that manner. And yet the court blocked Spiros, who, while not qualified, does have a lot of legal experience. Anyway, he's gone on to bigger and better things, and Amanda Sheedy is well versed in what he's up to. In fact, I must give her a call and try and find out what he has been doing recently, because he's not returning my calls. So I'm not exactly sure what's going on. I did hear he was involved in something in Northern Victoria, And obviously, if you were aware of or watch free-to-air TV, you may have seen a story on him on the show on Channel 9. It's that long since I've watched it. Current Affair. Tracy Grimshaw. I could see her face, and she's not even there anymore. In fact, who is the new host? I know somebody put me up for the job. Oh, that was the other thing. Jobs. Let's talk about radio jobs. Do you want to see some trolls go off? Do you want to see some trolls go apoplectic? Apparently, my name has been put forward for a very special radio job in Brisbane at a old and very prestigious radio station. They are looking for somebody who can be a bit controversial. I didn't put me forward for this. Somebody else has put me forward for this. I roared laughing when they told me that I'd been put forward for this, because I don't have a hope in hell of getting it. All right? Let's nobody go and get your hopes up. All right? This will never happen. And there is a reason that this will never happen, and that's because the job is involved with a radio network that is, in fact, a television network. Does that give you an idea? Let me tell you two of the people who might work for the radio side of that television network. One of them would be Ben Fordham, and the other one would be Ray Hadley. Now, I just want to say to you, what chances do I have of becoming the afternoon announcer at 4BC in Brisbane? I don't know. Maybe that's up to you guys. Maybe you can ring them. No, don't. God, no, don't. Shit, I'll be doing a guru. Don't be ringing them. Don't be ringing them. Don't be ringing them. Don't be calling them at all. I just thought it would be funny to let you know that that's gone ahead. I don't know how far it's gone ahead. I don't know anything more about it other than apparently that's gone ahead. I don't expect the phone to be ringing off the hook just between you, me, and the gatepost. And if it did perchance ring, I would hope and pray somewhere in the network that when Ray Hadley and Ben Fordham get wind of said conversation, somebody records their reaction and gets it to me, because I would find that hysterical. You know, two blowflies going off in a beer bottle. That's about what I reckon it'll be. I wonder whether or not they, because I haven't brought it up myself at the moment. And let me just let me see if I've sucked the image in here. I don't think I have. Did you see the Weekend Australian? Did you have a look at the front page of the Weekend Australian? I can tell you that the front page of the Weekend Australian, and I will quote it because to misquote it could be quite damaging in the long run. Let me just go down here and find it. I wish I could get it up close and show you there, but COVID cover-up, how science was silenced. That is the headline of the Weekend Australian. Now, that doesn't get much more mainstream when it comes to print media in this country. The Australian newspaper is by far the biggest national newspaper in the land. The Daily Mail might, say something different about that, but most of that's online. This is still a large broadsheet newspaper, and that was the headline. They are a very credible news organisation. They have been long-lived or long-touted as the keeper of the public knowledge, if you like, the journal of journalist integrity. The Australian, well, the Weekend Australian had the truth splashed all the way across it all weekend. Did you see a story about that on any television channel? Do you watch mainstream news TV at all? I don't. But I wouldn't have expected that you would, or I listen to radio a lot, and you can't really avoid the news that comes on the radio. Not a word of it on any news service I heard over the weekend. Now, why wouldn't that be happening? If the Australian have come out and said, and let me quote it again and get it absolutely right, COVID cover-up, : how science was silenced, and the story about how Anthony Fauci screwed the world. How is it your local media aren't talking about it? Have you rung them and asked why they haven't bothered following up this story? Is 60 Minutes doing a story? Did you see it on A Current Affair tonight? Is it going to be something that's covered in Sunrise or Today anytime this week? Maybe it has been, I don't know. I better flick back to the comments in case I'm getting a bit raucous here and it's already been covered. Yeah, Crunch, I'm 100% on that. Yes, radio news is certainly the greatest cause of head shaking. I would give you that, but mainly through pronunciation and word usage. They have no idea. Oh God, I hear some horrible things on the largest radio network in this country, the Southern Cross Austereo radio network. Their weekend news presenters are atrocious. God, especially when trying to deal with any kind of international name. It's unbelievable. Anyway, I digress a little bit. So our media friends are getting their tens of millions of dollars bonus from the government in the form of a 100% tax rebate, remember. So the electronic media are sticking to their game, right? They're sticking to their guns. They're not going to make any mention of any of this. That way, the government are still going to give them that tax rebate. See, the paper now might have shot themselves in the foot because they've exposed it. But if nobody else in the mainstream media picks up the story and runs with it, and ordinarily you would find A Current Affair mentioning it would be in the news, you would think possibly 60 Minutes might start looking at doing a story a bit deeper on it. The ABC, for what they're worth, would make up a bunch of lies and try and convince you of the truth about it. And that's not to say that's not happening. That's quite probably still happening. But it's a bit dodgy, don't you think? Are people starting to wake up? Are people around you starting to wake up? Point these sorts of things out to them. Maybe it will help them wake up just a little bit. That's all we can hope for. But yeah, I know a lot of you don't. I just saw somebody saying there in the chat that they don't watch mainstream media or listen to mainstream radio. I understand that. There's certainly no real news that you're being told. I watch it more for intel purposes than anything else. Same with looking at news sites. News.com.au, not exactly what you'd call the doyen of journalistic integrity, but I always like to go and have a look at what the headlines are. And I've got some pages here that are, the headlines grab me and I like to see what they are. Sometimes they are a bit of a precursor to telling you a mistruth about something that we know actually happened. This isn't one of those stories. This one just grabbed me from a particularly ironic point of view. Vegan raw food diet influencer Zihan Diat dies of starvation. A popular influencer who subsisted exclusively on a diet of exotic fruit has died of starvation aged 39. There's a shock. So some of the other headlines, useful if only just to look at the diversions they're throwing up to you. So right now, for the more boganish amongst us, the argument is getting down to how big is your ute. If you drive a Dodge Ram or a GMC or one of the big American import type utes, people are getting their noses quite out of joint about your inability to park inside the rather small car parks inside shopping centres and that kind of thing. People who have spent a couple of $100,000 buying one of these American imports are taking up 2, 3, 4 car parks. I've seen them parked in the middle of 4 car parks, so nobody can get into any of them. That's not good. I wouldn't suggest that, the car would have an intact paintwork if you left it in that sort of situation in Melbourne or Sydney or Brisbane for too long. However, if you show a little bit of courtesy and if others show a little bit of courtesy, there should be a way around this. Don't go parking in the small car parks for one. But at the end of the day, you aren't going to stop those sorts of vehicles, Dodge Rams, the Chevy Silverado, the GMCs. You're not going to stop them being imported, because they are much better. And I'm not suggesting for a moment that people who are driving these are, like the old Toorak tractor days, mums taking their kids to school. odds are the family will have a very big caravan, a very big boat, something they're going to be pulling with something like that. And I can speak from experience. After driving home last night, I was in a section of 110 kilometre an hour highway, and there was one of these Dodge Rams pulling a very large caravan, and he wanted to race me and could quite easily race me. He was pulling this thing like it wasn't even there. My little Hyundai's getting a little bit out of breath. So, yeah, they're big, but if you're pulling something, they're probably much more fuel efficient and all that. Not making excuses. Learn how to park them right, or be a little understanding when you go to park them, I guess. It's not the kind of thing you want to take down to the local supermarket if it's only a little supermarket and try and park, I guess. But there will be those that go and do it. So that was one headlines about that. But other headlines up there today, the RBA makes another massive U-turn. So they've held on to the interest rates for the time being, at least. The third story is gross no undies trend taking over. So I don't know. Is this a thing that the Voice of Freedom chat room might like to discuss? When you go to the gym, ladies and gentlemen, do you wear undies? Not sure I'm really interested. Next story, Harry Styles shocks with his ex tattoo. Now, I don't really care about who his ex is or where it's been tattooed. However, I'm sure this is just an excuse to get pictures of Harry and what does seem to be a pretty good figure on Harry. And Sandy, I want you, if you're going to go to news.com.au, I want you to take, a pill or something before you go. You and Barry do not need to race off. This donkey does not need rescuing. But I got to say, he's wearing a pair of dick stickers. He could be mistaken for a donkey. Well, a tattooed donkey. Just saying. Just saying. Don't mean anything by it. I'm just saying this is the quality of the news that they put up there. What's the next one? Vegan influencer dies of starvation. Poor girl. I'm very sad to hear that. I'm not terribly surprised. Okay. Tears about the Brazil World Cup. Hopes hanging on the balance. Our Wallabies. Kawaja reveals an umpire's bizarre excuse. And then we get into some really weird ones. Texts show Aussie cops bestiality. What was it? A bestiality case. So this New South Wales police officer, would you believe that? The page is just updated and it has just disappeared. That story. Oh, no, here it is. Text show Aussie cops bestiality and incest chat to a child he thought was 15. Fake Botox doctor is in court. You'll notice today that there was a pedophile arrested. 136, I think it is, rape charges and over 1,500 other charges. Now, that pedophile worked in childcare for a number of years. This is, great news that they got the bastard and they got him because of a hard drive. This fella who likes to do weird things to animals and children and likes to apparently show his manhood right beside his police badge. Thankfully, he's been caught, and it will be interesting to see what, if he's found guilty, what sentence he will get, being a current and serving police officer. He would be off duty at the moment, I dare say. But yes, what's the inside love lives of World Cup stars? So, okay, I'm all for your same-sex relationships and doing whatever it is you want to do. I don't know. I suppose they might do gay and hetero stories like this for other sports. I just can't say I've seen one. Harry's on the news. Harry and Meghan, they're always on the front page. Great for 100,000 clicks, Harry and Meghan. Nobody really knows what the hell Harry and Meghan are doing, at least of all Harry and Meghan. So could be fun. Here we are. Detail led to child healthcare workers 1,623 charges. Images from 2014 sparked an investigation laying those charges. So more road rage attacks. These are all, I'm telling you this because there are distractions. These media companies are telling you bullshit, giving you bubblegum news, right? Popcorn news, something that'll make you click. Clickbait. Oh, there you go. There's a term. They are not telling you the story of the COVID farce, which the Weekend Australian, I'm going to say, broke in mainstream media last weekend. Why the hell is that? So if you are going to ring a radio station or a television station or anybody else, ring and ask that question. Don't bother ringing and asking about me going to do an afternoon show at 4BC. Don't worry about that. Ring and ask why they're not talking about what the Weekend Australian published last weekend and the details of that. Why aren't they asking further questions? Why aren't they quizzing the government? Why aren't they quizzing the health department? Why aren't they getting APRA on the phone and getting answers? They're the questions you should be ringing Ray Hadley and Ben Fordham for. Not listening to their excuses, and they'll have them, have no fear, because guess who's going to get a bonus come tax time? They're not going to let that out, but put the pressure on them. Ask those questions, because that seems quite fair. Why are you not covering what must be world-breaking news in a mainstream, not just a mainstream newspaper, but the mainstream newspaper in Australia, the leading masthead in this country? Why are Ben Fordham and Ray Hadley and others ignoring that? If you're in Melbourne, ring Neil Mitchell. I'm not sure who's doing breakfast on 3AW these days, John and someone. Give them a call. I'm not sure who does breakfast in Brisbane these days. Give them a call. Ask why they're not making mention of this. And then if they do start making mention of it, maybe they will let you on. Maybe you'll get to ask a question about all those ambulances going past, all those really healthy kids and young mothers dying for no apparent reason other than, they caught a cold. So that's the latest news, J1, is it? I don't know. Joel Jamal only seems to answer my phone call when he wants something. He rings me, I answer. I ring him, he doesn't answer. So I don't know. If that's the case, good luck to him. I look forward, the people who've got tickets to go and see Donald Jr. will be very excited to hear that has been rescheduled, if that is the case. I haven't seen official notice yet. I'll put a call into Joel or send him a text and see if I can get it confirmed. And we will push it forward from there. But I know a lot of people who are going, both to the private function and to the general function. So I'm really looking forward to hearing people's reactions to what he has to say and how he answers the questions that they'll have for him. So looking forward to that. I see something about radio, but let me just have a look here, Crunch. Yeah, you're probably right there, mate. You're probably right. I think the deal will be you're not allowed to mention anything negative about COVID, anything negative about the jibbity jab, and certainly no talk of vax injury beyond dismissing it as a furphy. If you want to get that 100% tax rebate, you've got to play the game and play it hard, and that's what it seems now electronic media at least are doing. It is possible that the print media, at least in one masthead's case, has fallen. Will there be a backup story? Has there been something else in the Australian this week? I don't know. I don't buy any of this rubbish anymore. I don't have a bird cage for it to go at the bottom of so the bird can shit all over it. But if they are going to start telling factual news, I might even start having a look at the servo in the mornings. But yeah, I'll get things confirmed before we go and get too socially excited about it. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. I've gone a little bit longer than I expected tonight, and I apologize if I've kept you up and awake and away from other things. I'll just have a quick scan down here to see if there was something I wanted to tell you about. Oh, yeah, here's a couple of these are shots of Blinken's doomsday jet as it came into Australia the other day, the EB4. I will tell you that there is a lot of military flights heading down to Antarctica at the moment, and There are varying reports that the war is raging down there. In fact, we were following a military transport the other day using one of the tracking services that we have access to, and it departed Australia, was heading south, and disappeared. Once it got south of Tasmania, just disappeared. So we don't know where it actually went, but because they're turning off the transponders when they get out of controlled airspace south of Australia, and they're looking after themselves from there, switching over to another military frequency, I dare say. So yes, that was just one Australian transport. There are a lot more traffic going down there between Argentina, New Zealand, and Australia. There is a shitload of planes going to Antarctica at the moment. There also seems to be a lot of Russian activity in the northern hemisphere around the Arctic Circle. Not exactly sure what that is at the moment, but it's Russian Navy involvement. They're not fighting with anybody. Could they be positioning? I'm unsure. There have been noises about Norway being in some way involved at the moment. Pretty confident Norway are a recent abductee into NATO. If that's the case, things might get pretty interesting in the Baltic in the near future. I'm sure the Aussie Cossack will have further details on that on his channel if he's got one. I'm not sure he does have one at the moment. But he is always out putting out the news, so it'll be available on certain services for sure. I will go and have a bit of a look and see what I can dig up about that. There is certainly some interesting news coming out of the Baltic states. Of course, we all know the big push with Warner, Putin's mercenary army, if you like. There was no way that they were turning on Putin and marching on Russia to go and murder Putin and his hierarchy. That was actually a sting. NATO offered them a bribe to turn around and march on Moscow, and that bribe was $6.9 billion. $6.9 billion. And they got the money and gold, more particularly, when they reached a certain point just outside of Moscow. And I think that was 150 or 200 kilometers or whatever. They weren't going any further until they'd been paid. So they were paid. And then they promptly turned around and went to Belarus, quite happily with the money. They didn't go and attack Putin. What happened? The leader of Wagner went to Moscow. The mainstream media told you they had a huge blow up, but they sorted out their differences. Well, of course they did. They split the money. That's how it worked. They split $6.9 billion. Putin is not a stupid man, folks. Not a stupid man. But if you've ever watched any Russian dashcam video, you will certainly know that there are many dickheads on the road in Russia.
You let one ant stand up to us, then they all might stand up. Those puny little ants outnumber us 100 to 1. And if they ever figure that out, there goes our way of life. It's not about food. It's about keeping those ants in line. That's why we're going back. Does anybody else want to stay?